The New York Times story leaking Donald Trump's taxes on Sunday night appears to have blown a much bigger story wide open, which is Donald Trump's very precarious financial position. And more importantly, how that precarious financial position could make Donald Trump a very susceptible target for all sorts of blackmail and manipulation. Remember that in the New York Times story, along with telling us that Trump paid no federal taxes for 10 of the last 15 years and paid only $750 in federal taxes in 2016 and in 2017. And he wrote off $70,000 in hair related expenses. It also told us that he's $420 million in debt, with $300 million of that in loans that will start coming due during what would be Trump's second term as president if he gets one. It's even worse than that. Dan Alexander looked at the full scope of Trump's debts, including equity loans against properties and other things, and estimates that Donald Trump's total debt right now is about $1.1 billion. Now, this is a security nightmare. This is not just about conflicts of interest. This is not just about, is Trump a good businessman or not? This is about Trump being a national security risk. Recall that back when Jimmy Carter was president, Jimmy Carter put a stake in his family's peanut farm in a blind trust to avoid conflicts. He later sold it, but initially he put it in a blind trust. We are orders of magnitude beyond that here. Trump's indebtedness is so severe that if he were any other government employee, according to former U.S. Attorney Barb McQuaid, he would not even be able to get a security clearance. Debt is one of the most common reasons that the government would reject giving someone a security clearance, because creditors can exert undue influence over people when they owe a lot of money. If someone knows you're strapped for money, that you have debt, they can manipulate you. And then on top of all this, Donald Trump's businesses have been particularly hard hit because of coronavirus, which we'll talk about in the next segment. But look at the irony that Trump's own mishandling of coronavirus as president has jeopardized his businesses as a private citizen. If he had better handled coronavirus from day one, the economy wouldn't be doing as terribly, and Trump's businesses would be doing better, and Trump's financial position wouldn't be as precarious. But for our conversation about national security, the point is that Trump's $1.1 billion in debt are now being combined with increasingly failing businesses, which we'll discuss shortly. And it makes him particularly vulnerable to coercion, to manipulation. And this could actually be a personal bankruptcy for Trump that's coming. Remember, when Trump talks about being a billionaire, he doesn't necessarily have billions in cash. And in fact, a ton of his net worth, as we now know, is held up in inflated property values. That's not cash you can pay debts with. And in fact, it may be wildly exaggerated even as equity. We have a president potentially facing personal bankruptcy. That's not who you want in power. When someone is desperate for cash, they're susceptible to blackmail, they're susceptible to bribery. And for that reason, people with massive debt or in bankruptcy are not the people we want with access to the nation's secrets. But there are no such rules for the office of the president. And it's interesting that lots of Trump defenders are calling this stuff conspiratorial. Look at the facts. You really don't need to speculate much. The president personally owes one or more people at least $400 million and probably $1.1 billion. Okay, that's a fact. His tax returns show it. Other documents in the media have shown that. Trump has tried to hide the reality of his financial situation. That's undeniable. He's in court right now trying to hide his taxes. That's a fact. We only know some of the creditors Trump has. That's true. We know some, we don't know all. Trump likely doesn't have the cash to repay these debts because most of his wealth is paper wealth in real estate and intellectual property. That's a fact. Trump is accused of laundering money through his campaign. That's a fact. Now, it's a fact that the allegation has been credibly made. It has not yet been proven. We know that in general, people don't like being financially insolvent. That's like a general truth about humans. So very little of this is speculative. Next, I want to dig in a little more specifically to the business failings of Donald Trump. Real quick, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Magic Spoon, who have done something awesome. They've taken all of our favorite sugary childhood cereals that we know we shouldn't eat anymore, and turn them into something you can actually feel good about eating as an adult. There's 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry. They taste great. They're crunchy. They're sweet like you would expect this type of cereal to be, but it's perfect for a ketogenic diet because one bowl has only 3 net carbs, 12 grams of protein. It's sugar-free, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free. Once our team tried Magic Spoon for the first time, we actually ended up emailing Magic Spoon back and saying, can you send us more boxes? Send more samples. They've been a big hit with David Pakman Show staffers. And Magic Spoon knows how delicious their cereal is, because if you don't like it, they'll refund all of your money, no questions asked. And you'll get free shipping when you go to magicspoon.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. That's Pakman.